Hi everyone, in this video I am going to use the writing assignment sample that I wrote to go over some of the formatting requirements. For those of you who have written in APA style before, the APA style manual did recently update to the 7th edition, so some things may be different than what you've used in the past. On my manuscript checklist, there is a new 7th edition APA style sample paper linked. There are a few things you need to set before you start writing your paper. First, let's fix the spacing. So if you look at this, I have it as the Word default. So you've got a little extra space at paragraph breaks, and this is not double spaced. So we're going to come up here and go to line spacing options, no space before or after, and then we want this at double spaced. And if you want to, you can even set this as default so you don't have to fix it every time you write something. Okay. Now we need to add a page number in the upper right of the page. So you can just double click up here, or you can go to Insert and Page Number, Top of Page, and then you want the one that is in the right corner. Okay, now make sure that the font of this matches the font that you've chosen for your paper. In the past, APA style required that we use 12-point Times New Roman. That list has expanded, and I have linked it on the updated manuscript checklist. However, I still recommend using 12-point Times New Roman just because it's what everyone's used to. Okay, another change in the new edition of APA style is that you do not need a running head. Okay, what else needs to change here? Our margins. Okay, go to Layout, Margins, and you'll see that the default has 1 1/4 inches on either side. And for APA, we need 1 inch all around. Okay, check that the page number moved over with that, looking good. Now I am going to go to File, Options, and change my proofreading options before I start writing. Okay. So, if you go to your grammar settings, APA requires that you use the serial comma. So if you have A, B, and C, there's a comma between B and the word and, okay? So you want to turn this on to always check for that. APA requires that you put the punctuation inside the quotation mark, so Word can check that for you as well. APA used to require 2 spaces between sentences. Now that is no longer a requirement, so you can say don't check, or you can choose one of these just to make sure you're being consistent. Okay. For grammar, check all of these. Turn all of these on so that Word checks your grammar for you. You also want to have Word check your style. Okay? Now, some of these things might get flagged in your paper and you don't want to change them, but things I definitely see students make a lot of errors on are the uses of informal writing, right? So contractions, cliches, things that don't belong in an academic paper. Okay. Now onto the title page. This information is linked on the manuscript checklist, but we're going to go over it quickly just here. So you've got 3 lines followed by your title in title case, 2 lines, and then your name, affiliation, the course title, your instructor, the date that the assignment is due. When you're done with the information on your title page, you want to enter a page break. You can either hold Control and hit Enter on your keyboard, or you can go to Insert, Page Break, and that'll jump you down to the top of the next page. What you don't want to do is just enter a bunch of blank lines, because when you upload this to Canvas or convert it to a PDF or someone else opens it on their computer, there's no guarantee that those lines are going to display exactly the same. So things can shift around. So what you want is a clean page break. So you start right at the top of the next page. Okay. I am not asking you to write an abstract for your paper because these papers are pretty short. So the first thing you're going to have is centered the title of your paper. And now make sure that it's actually centered. You can see this is slightly offset to the right because it was auto indented. So I'm going to slide that. Okay. Now under your title, you start immediately with your introduction. You do not need a heading for introduction. Okay. And then we have Level 1 and Level 2 headings used throughout your paper to break it up a little bit. The heading did change with the new edition of the APA Style Manual, so there's an updated link on the manuscript checklist. Okay, so sometimes your heading may appear on the page before and be kind of separated from the section it labels. If that happens, you want to change it by right-clicking and going to Paragraph. The other option is to select this line and go up here to Line Spacing Options. Okay. So you want to go over to Line and Page Breaks and select Keep with Next. Okay, that will make sure that your heading does not get separated from the text that it labels. Throughout this sample paper, which you have access to on Canvas, there are lots of examples of different types of in-text citations that you might not be familiar with. Okay, so here I have a secondary source. Now, if you were writing a more extensive paper, you would want to look up the original source and cite that. But for the purposes of the writing assignments, you can use the materials provided in the class and then just cite whoever they cite. For example, in our textbook, which is Schwartz cites the work of Loftus and Palmer. So because I'm specifically talking about the work of Loftus and Palmer, I use them in the signal phrase, cite the year of that publication, comma, and then say as cited in, and then provide the in-text citation for the source in which I found this information. Now let's hop down to references. So this looks like it is offset as well, so we want to make sure it is truly centered. Our reference list needs a hanging indent, so I'm going to select all of it. Pull this slider back so the top line is flush with the margin, and bring this slider forward so the subsequent lines are indented 1/2 inch. Okay, so references list is ordered alphabetically by, so you don't ever change the order of authors within a source. For journal articles, which are going to be the majority of your sources, this is the same format you've been doing forever, right? You have last name, comma, initials, and then you're going to repeat that for however many authors there are, and then there's an and before the terminal author, year in parentheses, title of the article in sentence case, title of the journal in title case, and then following that is the volume number, and this part is all italicized. If there is an issue number that is not italicized and it is in parentheses immediately after the volume, there's no space there, comma, and then the page range. There's no P or PP here, it's just the page range. And then you have the DOI. The new version of APA prefers that the DOI be used, or the new version of APA prefers that you put the DOI as a link, as a URL. So If the paper you had just had the DOI, it would look like this. So to get the URL, you just type https://doi.org/ and then paste the DOI immediately after it, and then that link will take you to that source. Okay, so that's how you convert a regular DOI into a URL. Okay, so now I am done with my paper, and I'm going to zoom out so I can see the overall layout of my paper. Doing this will allow you to identify things that aren't centered or indented correctly, or if you have a heading that is separated from its text. Okay, you can also see the overall layout of your title page. Okay, I hope this is helpful. If you have additional questions about APA format, places to look include the manuscript checklist, the very thoroughly annotated APA style paper that is linked on the checklist. I have an annotated version of this sample paper uploaded on Canvas. And then if you have any remaining questions, you can post those in the Q&A. Okay, happy writing!